Hello friends, welcome to my channel, Patently Simple. Here I'll be sharing content about various topics related to intellectual property. I am an IP professional with 20 plus years of experience in this field, and during this experience I have interacted with many scientists who are PhDs and masters who have certain type of questions that keep coming up. So I thought of creating this channel to address some of the regularly asked questions. If you are here, then either you are an inventor yourself or would like to understand more about this field. Welcome. And if you would like to know more about these kind of content, then please subscribe to my channel. Each week, I will break down complex topics into simplified explanations. And if you appreciate this content, please like and share. The topic for today's content is inventorship. When we think of inventor, we can think of many big names that come to our mind, and one of them is Thomas Alva Edison. What you're seeing in front of you is a patent from Thomas Alva Edison, published in 1880, which is a patent on electric lamp. I thought that was very cool to start our talk today. So a lot of times there is confusion about who an inventor is. If an inventor is a person who is an inventor of a certain invention, or if a person can write about that invention. So a lot of times, a question comes in the mind of the scientist, whether they are an inventor or whether they are just an author in a paper. And there is a very distinct difference between the two when it comes to patents, where you may think that you are an inventor, but can you be named on a patent application as compared to being named on a scientific article? So that is the topic that I would like to explain today. Many times in the labs, there is an inventor or there is a scientist who comes up with an invention. Now, whether that person is working on an invention in the lab or whether they have come up with the idea, what would constitute an inventor in the US patent law? According to the US patent law, a person who conceives the invention or contributes to the conception of the invention is the inventor. Conceive or conception is the word which should be kept in mind when it comes to invention. Now, what would that word mean? It would mean that it's a person who forms the invention in the mind. This conception needs to be an essential element of the invention. Now, this invention can come about when two people are talking to each other. Then they would be named as joint inventors. Also, the inventor needs to be a person or a being. It is not a corporation. An inventor may assign his invention, his or her invention, to the corporation, but the inventor would still remain the natural person or the human being. So what we see here is about the inventor is a person who is an individual and who has conceived of the essential element of the invention. It can be more than one person. Now, there are oftentimes in the lab, one person conceives of the invention, and supervises or delegates or tells another person to run the experiments. If the other person is running the experiments under the guidance of the inventor, then that person is not an inventor. Now, this is often an issue in the labs where a person who has, worked very hard through the day and considers himself or herself to be an inventor, but turns out they were only working under the supervision of another person, in which case they would not be considered an inventor, no matter how much work they have put into it. The rule still applies that inventor is a person who conceived of the invention and not the one who actually practiced it or carried the experiments. So in other words, it is irrelevant, as harsh as it may sound. It is irrelevant who is reducing it to practice. Only the person who's conceiving of it matters. Now, there are times when a person would suggest an improvement to the invention. Now, when the application is drafted or prepared, and that's something we can talk about another time, there are something that is called claims. And what is claimed in the invention, that is what would be considered an invention for the patent application. So if there is an improvement to the invention, which is part of the claim, then that person would be considered an inventor. It doesn't matter how brilliant the improvement is. If that improvement is not claimed in the patent application, the person is not an inventor. So the claims of the patent application would ultimately decide who would be named as an inventor on the patent application. So then comes the concept of joint inventors or co-inventors. When two or more people conceive the invention or contribute to the conception of the invention. Now, if one person conceives the invention and the other person just knows about some general knowledge in the field, that general knowledge would not constitute that person to become a joint inventor. So the person, when one is contributing to the invention, that needs to be a conception of the idea in their mind as well. So when it is a joint inventor, both the inventors need to have conceived of the idea in their mind. And then perhaps the invention becomes a joint invention where both of their ideas are needed in order to achieve or accomplish the invention. Another way is if there is another person who suggests an idea of a result to be accomplished, rather than telling how to reach that result, that person is not the inventor. So if the person says, hey, let's make a wheel, but that person does not know how to get there, that person is not the inventor. And then, like I mentioned earlier, a patent application always has claims, which is again a topic that we can take up another time. So the inventorship would be based on the claims of the patent application. So if there are 10 claims in a patent application, at least one claim should be there belonging to each of the inventors for them to become joint inventors to the patent application. So each person should have at least one idea in the claim in order to become the joint inventors. Inventorship can be amended based on the claims. So if the claims are amended during the prosecution of the patent application, the inventorship will have to be amended as well if it changes. Now the question arises, do the two joint inventors need to be at the same place? The answer is no. They can work in different universities, they can work in different departments. They may not work together or at the same time. And they also need not make the same type or amount of contribution. One person may make 1% of the contribution to the invention and may still be considered as an inventor, and another person may make 99% of the contribution to the invention and would be the inventor. Both would be named as inventors if each one of their invention is claimed in the patent application. Like I said earlier, it does not have to be every claim of the patent. They just need to make a contribution to one of the claims of the patent application in order to become a joint inventor. So this concludes the topic for today. And if you like this kind of content and would like to be notified of the new episode, please subscribe to the channel below and like and share. See you soon.